Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm showing you how to make this beautiful barn owl in flight paper craft using a Cricut machine. There's loads of layers in here to make it really realistic. But if you're thinking, hey Sarah, it's really nice, but it'd be great if it had a background. Well, I am spoiling you because not only do you get the separate owl for free, but also this version with a beautiful field scene countryside background to it. So you can choose to either make the owl without the background, make the owl with the background, or why not make them both? Both these SVGs are free to download, so let's find out where to find them. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space to start a new project, then go to Upload over on the left and then Upload Image. You can see I've already uploaded the owl without the background, so I'll show you how to do it for the one with, but it is the same for both of them. Click on Upload Image and then you can click Browse to find a file on your computer or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download, and then within there you see you've got two subfolders, with background and without background. I'll show you the one with, so double click in there, and then the file to select for Cricut Design Space is the one which starts SVG in the file name. So I'll click and drag that in, and this is what it looks like. You should see all the pieces one on top of the other, so it looks like a finished picture. If you see each individual piece next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file type. So if that's the case, press cancel down on the bottom right, try again, and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. But this one is looking good, so I will press upload and then click it to get the green border. I'll put this one in as well and add to canvas. So here are my two different designs. They are very similar in that the owl is pretty much the same. There are a couple of differences which will become more obvious as you're actually sticking it together and following the assembly guides. But the reason I included them both is just in case you don't want the background, you've got this nice one here to make. For the ones that I test cut, I resized them a little bit different. So first, this one on its own, make sure the padlock icon is closed, and I made it just a tiniest bit bigger to 11.5 inches wide, which is the maximum size you can cut on 12 by 12 inch cardstock. So I cut this one from my 12 by 12 rather than my regular A4, just so I could get that bit of extra size. But this tutorial is going to focus on the one with the background, so let's resize this one. I'll make it a little bit smaller so that I know it will fit in the frame I've got planned for it. So I'm going to go 7.75 inches wide, which is 6.285 inches tall. But of course, it's completely up to you, whatever size you want to make it. You can see all the pieces down here. There are quite a lot, and it does have lots of similar colours. To check what colours you're going to need, you can click the Colour Sync button up here, and that will separate everything out for you. To make it easier to see, click the little arrows to close these windows up. So it is a lot of colours and some similar ones. If you want to, you can always change the colours or leave some out, or just cut it without the background, and that will get rid of a lot of the different colours for you. The main thing to note is the owl wings, where you've got a white on the bottom and then a slight off-white on top. On the picture it looks grey, but I found what works nicest is a really pale cream colour. And even though when I hold the two sheets, a white and a cream next to each other, the cream looks really yellowy and not great at all, by the time it's actually cut out, they end up looking really good together. So that's what I'm going to use, a white and a slight off-white creamy colour. But of course, use whatever you've got that matches these colours. To get it cut out, press Make over on the top right, and that will separate out all the different colours. You can change the paper size in here, and then you can click and drag to move things about to take up less space. Just make sure that nothing overlaps when you're doing that, otherwise it won't cut out properly. You may be able to find by moving things about that you can use up less sheets. For example, this piece, I think I can fit it on there. It's the same colour, this only works with the same colour. Move it onto the first one. And I might need to rotate. So it's like a bit of a jigsaw. But there we go. Now I have all those pieces on one A4 sheet, and I've now got an empty one. Don't worry if you end up with anything empty, because when you click continue to connect to your Cricut, it will get rid of any empty ones automatically for you. So go ahead, get everything looking exactly as you want it to, press continue and get everything cut out from your cardstock, and then we'll see how to stick it all together to make our beautiful barn owl with background. Here is my owl with background all cut out, and I've layered everything one on top of the other just to check I'm happy with all the colours and that I haven't missed anything out. You can see the size difference between this and the owl I cut without the background. This one I have already stuck together, and when you stick them, if you're doing both of them, you'll notice that the owl without the background has more foam square layers in it than this one is going to, just because this one doesn't have the background taking up space, so I thought we could give the owl a little bit more depth, whereas this one, as it's already got so much in the background, I didn't want to add too much that it ended up not looking realistic or being possibly too thick to fit in a frame. We'll stick it together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I like to use is called Collall, and I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do, and I put it into these needle tip applicator bottles. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot & Dab. These ones are nice and small, which is going to be very handy for this design, but any will do, and if yours are big, you can just cut them smaller with a pair of scissors to fit. We need to start at the bottom and work upwards. So let's move these pieces away, but I'm trying to keep them in little groups so that I don't have to worry about making it really difficult for myself to put together later on. So I'll move all these apart until I'm left with the very bottom two layers, which is the solid circle and the trees to go on top. I want the trees to have some depth from the sky in the background, so I'll turn this one upside down and add some foam squares on the back. When adding foam squares, make sure you don't go outside the edge of any of the cardstock, otherwise you'll see it when we turn it over and stick it down, and we don't actually want to be able to see any of these foam squares. And that's not quite going to fit in there, so I'll put it there instead. As well as going around the edge, you also need to make sure there's a good amount of foam squares in the middle, which I'll do in a moment. Because if you just put them around the edge, then there's nothing in the middle to hold this piece of cardstock stable. So you'd find that it would kind of bend downwards where there's nothing to support it. And it just wouldn't quite give the same 3D effect. It wouldn't quite look as good as it does if you put some bits in the middle like this. So I know it does take a bit longer and use up a little bit more of your foam squares, but it's definitely worth it for a better effect overall. As I said, if your foam bits are a little big, then you can cut them smaller, especially for fitting in this top bit of the circle, which is quite narrow. Just going through now and peeling off the tops of the foam squares to reveal the stickiness underneath. That's these done, so I'll bring in my base piece and then line this up. So use the wings as your guide, And I'm just going to gently drop that down. I haven't put any pressure on it, just a gentle drop. And that means if you're not happy with the positioning, you can pick it up and move it because nothing's actually stuck yet, so you're not going to damage anything. But that is looking good to me. So I'll push down to seal. All right, next we've got the field layers, and these will both be glued. Got my needle tip bottle. Can go around nice and easy. Again, you can use the wings to know where to line it up so that it goes in position. There we go. The next layer is another bit of the field, which again we will glue. And then we've got our front little pieces. And I think I'm also going to glue this. I want the main dimension here to come from the owl. So I'll glue this one. It's going to end up pretty thick anyway, just because of how many layers are in the background. So even though it is just being glued, it's still going to end up looking quite dimensional. The nice thing about glue is you can wiggle it around. It's not quite in position. And then this is the final one. The final, that's upside down. It was. Final bit. This is kind of what I meant about having lots of similar colours. You can see they all are pretty close, but they just go together so nicely. There's something really calming about this colour palette. There. Okay, I've got my moon or sun to go in the sky. Blob some foam squares straight on there and stick that in the middle like so. Now we're moving on to the owl, and once again we need the bottom layers, so that's these ones, and I am going to glue these very bottom ones on. Again, there's so much going on here that I think that'll work out best. And or shall I foam it? Dilemma. I was so sure of that decision, and now I'm thinking maybe not. No, I'm still going to do it. Still going to glue it. Because the owl's much smaller and it's still got lots of layers in it. It'll look just fine when it's all done. The next one is this, which I cut from my kind of creamy, almost yellowy colour. I'm not going to do these tops of the wings holding it over what I've already stuck, because I am bound to drop some glue. This is so thin. Glad for my needle tip applicator bottle. There we go. All right. Next are these pieces, and I will use foam for the solid bit and then glue on the detailed bit. Feels weird that I've put so many bits on and this is only our second level of foam, but it's already really, really deep. If I just turn it, It has quite a lot to it already. I was thinking after I cut it out and let it down that probably could have just glued everything and it would still have enough dimension. But a bit of foam never hurt. That one. Just trying to hold this out the way a little bit. There we go. Ooh, that's narrow. And there. Next are these pieces, which I'll glue. And I know it might seem a little bit odd that there's not an awful lot of difference between the dimension of this and what we've just done. So you might be wondering why we're adding this as separate pieces. But it still gives a little bit of depth, even though we're only gluing. And for something with this many details in it, that's enough for the eye to kind of feel like the owl is flying outwards towards you. Ooh, got a big glob of glue there. Let's get rid of that. Okay. And then I'll glue on this one too to make the tops of his wings. Or will I foam it? Just trying to think of what's coming next. No, this one I'll glue. Be much easier for you because you'll have an assembly guide to follow. Whereas I tend to sort of make it up on the fly as I'm sticking them together for the first time on camera. Here we are. Next we'll move on to the body. And we've got this piece with a little gap for the feet. I'm actually going to turn it over upside down and glue this bit of yellow to the back of it to cover the hole. And that will then enable us to use foam squares on this piece to make the feet look like they're coming out, like that owl is swooping in to pick up some prey. There, and then all the rest of the body, which is 3 pieces, feet, solid white, off-white, will all be glued. So I'll whiz through these nice and quick. There's the body done. Looking nice and 3D. And there are lots of pieces for the head, and all of these are going to be glued because we've already got so much going on, and owls' heads are kind of quite flat along their body. Ooh, I just lost his beak. Come back. Oh no. There we go. Put these in order. If I move them down a little, you can actually see. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? All right, so these are all going to be glued on. Oh, I've got one left. Right, so there's 1, 2, 3. Then the beak. 1, 2, 3. Start with the black. Then white. Then the same colour brown that's on the top of the wings. Now I'm going to glue the beak in place, that tiny little pink bit. If I can pick it up. There we go. Looks a bit creepy at the minute. Now there's the off-white piece. A little bit of glue. There. And we've got a darker brown. And finally, another piece the same colour as the tops of those wings. And there we have it, barn owl in flight, complete with background. This is beautiful. Just look at all those colours, loads of dimension to it. It stands out just as much as this one. They look lovely together. There we go. I use slightly different browns for them. This one's got a darker brown, which I think I prefer actually. I think that's a little bit more true to life on this one than this one, but I needed this brown to be my outside brown. And there we go, that is our wonderful owl in flight. And if you like this barn owl design and would like other owls or birds in the same style, check out the link in the description of this video to go to my SVG shop where there are loads of matching designs. I'm going to show you some of those now. I'll zoom out so I can fit them on. And all of these match lovely with each other. And if you do like owls, then the very first one that I ever did was a snowy owl. And this is actually the best-selling design I have ever released. I think it's because it kind of gives Harry Potter vibes, looking like Hedwig as it's a snowy owl. But there's another owl anyway. There's also a dove. And you can leave this piece off if you don't want to have the branch in his mouth. There is an eagle. Very majestic. And then a blue jay. This might be nice for kind of sports themed shadow boxes, if that is the type of team. Or perhaps you support cardinals. There's a cardinal in flight too. And then two more. We have a falcon, which is here. I believe that is also another popular sports team. You know what? Look, his foot's coming off. I'm going to have to glue that back on. Did you notice? Oh dear. And finally, there is a raven. This one was part of last year's Halloween craft countdown, but it is now available separately. And the raven also comes in a giant larger than matte version, which you can cut out. It's bigger than you could fit in this camera screen when that one's finished. But there we go. That is all the collection of different birds in flight. To find them in my shop, go to craftwithsarah.com/shop, and then on the top right there is a search bar. Type in there flight and then they'll all come up, and they all have matching vinyl versions as well for if you want to put these designs on a t-shirt or something like that instead of doing it from cardstock. But for now, let's get our little barn owl back, and this version too. I hope you enjoyed making these with me today. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. If there are any other bird in flight designs you'd like to see, please drop me a comment. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!